We've also decided to devote this entire first segment to simply clarify things, answer your questions. I put a tweet out earlier tonight that said, ask anything you want. We'll choose the best responses and we will reply to them, not on Twitter, but right here live on television with our post-game show. So let's begin with the first one here from the golden one in terms of the Vegas schedule for when bills need to be completed by and passed to be able to meet MLB's arbitrary January deadline. The land agreement in Vegas, with the out for no bill getting passed, what deadlines does it have? Okay, so that's a lot of questions here all in one, but to be very clear, Major League Baseball has told the A's that they need a new stadium situation by early January 2024. If they don't, they'll be off typical revenue sharing that they are accustomed to. That has forced the A's a little bit to accelerate this process, to figure things out either in Oakland or in Las Vegas. But the other part about the question there, which is on your screen, what's the schedule for when bills need to be completed and passed by? We have about 6 weeks left. A legislative session in the state of Nevada will be complete by early June. And at that time, the $500 million in tax credits that the A's are hoping for as part of their plans to purchase land in southern Nevada and move to Las Vegas, they're asking for $500 million of tax credits as part of a $1.5 billion ballpark project. We will know by early June, for sure or not, if that $500 million is coming. Okay, for more on that situation and moving to Las Vegas, Dave Kaval only did one interview locally with the media, A's team president talking to Raj Mathai of NBC Bay Area.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, because I read so many things here in the last 24 hours. It's $1.5 billion in Vegas, that stadium right, the retractable stadium right off the strip. You want the Nevada taxpayers to chip in $500 million, and then the A's would take care of the remaining $1 billion. Why would this be a good idea to the people in Nevada?
Well, you know, one of the dynamics in Nevada is that you have so many tourists and incremental visitors. And so it's a lot easier to create a positive ROI to invest in these buildings like they did with the Legion Stadium. You know, they have over 800,000 incremental visitors that come because of that stadium. We think our stadium will have over 400,000 incremental visitors who all pay taxes. So there's a lot of economic rationale and a positive ROI in investing and creating a venue that can attract visitors and also provide for the quality of life for the people who are living in the community. So, you know, that is the economic rationale to do that. It's slightly different than a lot of other communities because of the unique nature of the tourist economy. And it's something that we're in conversations with the local elected leaders on right now.
So where exactly would this ballpark be in Las Vegas? You see T-Mobile Arena there. You also see Allegiant Stadium and I-15, all of that adjacent to the Strip. This is about a mile north of Allegiant Stadium. It's just across the interstate from T-Mobile Arena. It's the former site of the Wild Wild West Casino and Saloon, which was pushed over back in September. It's 49 acres of land located right at Tropicana Avenue and Dean Martin Drive. And again, the A's are asking for $500 million in tax credits from the state of Nevada and from Clark County. But there is a bit of a development on that front in terms of paying for the stadium. So this is from Fox 5 Las Vegas. President Dave Kaval said the team could play at the Las Vegas ballpark after the 2024 season. What you don't see here is the detailed stats of how much it cost. What you do see here is a retweet by Clark County Commissioner of District A, Michael Naft, who says asking for and getting are two very different things. Now, to be fully transparent here, this is one person's opinion. Again, this is a Clark County Commissioner of District A. Doesn't exactly mean that something will or won't happen, but maybe paints the picture that this is not exactly shored up as much as maybe was initially understood to be. Okay, let's move on to the next question here from Gabriel Hernandez. What if this deal falls through? If the Las Vegas proposal falls through for whatever reason, do the A's resort back to Oakland and start where they left off, or do they have to restart the process? A couple things you need to know about this. The A's have an exclusive negotiating agreement with the Port of Oakland that is now coming up on 4 years old. It was signed in May of 2019. It expires in just a couple weeks in May of 2023. Without that, the A's don't necessarily have the ability to make an agreement on a deal. It's kind of the foundation of everything. Now, they've been in good relationships with the port, so there should not be a problem to renew this. But I think to answer the question more plainly, yes, they do have the opportunity to go back to Oakland. Mayor Sheng Tao said in her press conference yesterday that she will be ready to take that phone call if the A's are wanting to come back to it. And mind you, reports say that the A's and the city of Oakland were supposed to have a 3-day summit this week to have an ultimatum on a decision. And we've seen all of this before in Northern California. At one point, the San Francisco Giants were out the door to Tampa. The Sacramento Kings in the last decade were on their way first to Anaheim and then Seattle. And then following what seemed to be a major development like what we witnessed about 48 hours ago, things turned for the better for both Northern California teams in terms of staying here. So again, not to lead anybody on, but to give you perspective on the bigger picture, sometimes twists and turns happen before you ultimately get what you want. Okay, let's move on to the next tweet here, talking about the move and what does it mean. This comes to us from Hank Bobby Dale. What does this move mean for all the staff members that live in the Bay? Will they be forced to relocate too, or risk losing their jobs? And I think it's important we talk about all of this from a fan perspective. What will fans do? They'll miss their passion. They'll miss traditions. They'll miss going to games. Obviously, it's not something that's favorable to A's fans in Oakland. But it means even more to people who work at the Coliseum, work for the Oakland A's. The team moves, it would seem that the jobs no longer exist. Your favorite usher, your favorite concessionaire, your favorite grounds crew member, somebody that takes the parking money. Everybody that works at the Coliseum, we don't know and we can't entirely speculate, but it would seem that opportunities with 81 home baseball games per year would not exist for employment at the Coliseum. Let's go back to the conversation between A's president Dave Kaval and Raj Mathai of NBC Bay Area.
Dave, I've been around here for a long time. I think I've spoken and interviewed every owner of every sports franchise in their best of times and in the worst of times. John Fisher, the A's owner, the billionaire, does not do interviews. Does he owe it to the fans and the community to just explain what's happening?
Well, we've tried to be as transparent as possible. We've been on parallel paths for about 2 years, looking at Oakland, doing everything we can to make that happen, looking at Las Vegas as another option. And we're really at the point now where we needed to make a hard decision. And with the timeline challenges in Oakland, this was really an action that we felt necessary to put the franchise on stable financial footing, which is something that's an imperative not only for the A's, but for Major League Baseball.
All right, so obviously the A's are in a situation here of puzzle pieces because they want to move to Las Vegas. It takes a couple years to build a stadium. They do have a lease through next year, through the end of 2024 at the Coliseum. And that brings us to the next tweet here about what will the Las Vegas Aviators do if, in fact, the A's do want to relocate to Southern Nevada even sooner. Like, perhaps could this be the final season of A's baseball in Oakland? Jeffrey wondering, any word of the Aviators moving? And I think there's a very real possibility of that. Dave Kaval mentioned in one of his interviews yesterday that the A's have an agreement with the Howard Hughes Corporation, who runs the Aviators, which is the A's AAA affiliate in Las Vegas, for the A's to use that 10,000-seat ballpark, which was built just a couple years ago. It seats 10,000 now. It could likely be expanded 7,000, 8,000 more. So they would be sitting in that temporary spot for a couple years. As for the Aviators, they could move to Cashman Field, which is a long-standing, minor league-sized baseball stadium on the north side of the Las Vegas Strip. So not optimal for the Aviators, but if it meant the A's finding a temporary spot to land in Las Vegas and not having some more empty years in Oakland after this one, after they would have already announced a move, that certainly seems possible. Now, again, all of this would require Major League Baseball approval, so we can speculate, could it happen? Yes, but it would be up to Major League Baseball to make that final decision. Going back to the A's lease situation at the Coliseum, again, it expires at the end of next year. For more on that, the team president, Dave Kaval.
If the Vegas ballpark were to be ready by 2027 at the earliest, your lease at the Oakland Coliseum expires in 2024. There's a couple of years there of a gap. Where does the team play for a couple of years before Vegas?
That's a great question. We're going to work with Major League Baseball to identify the best interim plan once we have a final approval for relocation. It could include playing at our AAA facility, Las Vegas Ballpark in Summerlin, which is a suburb of Las Vegas. We could potentially get an extension on our lease in Oakland if that was on offer. So we have a couple options in terms of what we can do, and we'd want to work with the league, the Players Association, and really make sure that was done in a very thoughtful way.
Yeah, and looking at the Oakland Coliseum, one of the longest standing venues across Major League Baseball, literally the last dive bar as we know it and love it, but it's well beyond its service life. Nobody is even trying to argue that point. There shouldn't be any problem for the A's to stay there if Oakland knows that they're going to be able to keep the team. I don't know exactly how things work if the A's announce a move to Las Vegas and would be considering staying in Oakland or even extending their lease a couple years. It makes literally no sense to anybody that the A's would want to keep playing at the Coliseum, honestly, 2024, 25, 26, before a 2027 ballpark is built in Southern Nevada. It really makes no sense, and I can't see any way that that would happen. Okay, we'll move on to the question of the name of the A's and the colors green and gold. This one from Strawberry Bonds. Oh, I get that, Strawberry Bonds. Can the city of Oakland fight to keep rights to the A's name, colors, history, and hope MLB proceeds with an expansion team? Okay, there's two parts about that. Number one, the team name and colors are all trademarked to both the team and to Major League Baseball. And Dave Kaval has already said that they pride themselves on being one of the initial franchises in the American League, going back to the Philadelphia days. They are a legacy franchise. They're one of the founding franchises of the American League. There's no way they will not take that name, A's, to Las Vegas. In fact, on MLB Network Radio yesterday, he said Las Vegas A's has a nice ring to it. So they will definitely be keeping that. I know the other part of the question was, what was the other part of that question? Could we put it back up or no? No? I totally lost track of that. I apologize. We're doing all these Q&As here on the fly. Oh, here we go. MLB proceeds with an expansion team. That's exactly what it was about. Okay, I want to advise everybody that that is a possibility. Quite honestly, that is a far-fetched possibility. The A's if the A's relocate to Las Vegas, we've already established that they'll be taking the name and the colors with them. I don't want anybody to put all their eggs in that basket, though, because that is a long and winding process. It involves this area, this region, losing a team and then having to regain a team. There's territory involved. It's extremely complicated. The deal that is in place right now that still exists may totally time out and expire by the time that Major League Baseball gets around to expanding. You understand that the Tampa Rays are also part of the uncertainty equation right now. Oakland and Tampa need to be settled as franchises before MLB is set to expand yet again. So that's not a safe route to consider if you want Oakland's best interests. Okay, last tweet here, and I'll try and remember this one for all the answers. Honest take, if you're an Oakland fan, would you be looked down upon to no longer support the Las Vegas A's? I know the Raiders have made this exact move before, but the Raiders had been in Los Angeles, and then in Oakland, and then in Los Angeles, and then in Oakland again. The Raiders are a totally different animal, a different beast, and have to be viewed a very different way. It's easy to travel once per week to go visit Las Vegas and see the Raiders play. I just don't see the A's being a transitional team that a lot of fans will go follow. If they move from this region, I simply do not see a lot of Bay Area residents, Oakland residents following the A's with their fandom to Las Vegas. It, like a lot of things, just does not make a ton of sense. I don't think the A's are banking on that, but let's be clear. This is not a similar situation to the Raiders where this team will keep its fan base.